Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 218 of the Civil Gore Podcast. I'm your host, Tim.
And this is Brian, and we want to let you know this will be the final episode of Civil Gore for February.
Yes.
Scared you, Cody. I know Cody was like, what? But no, we're just kidding.
Although it is probably going to be a shorter episode. Sorry, Cody, because we had to record our dismemberment the same night, which is always tough. It's always tough.
Yeah, we had an awkward week time-wise with trying to sync up. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's unusual. So, so we had to kind of call an audible. So it's maybe a little bit shorter.
Yeah.
So we apologize for anyone that wants a nice long episode, or congratulations to the people that want me to shut up.
All right. Well, let's get right into it. This is our first chop. All right. Well, Brian, I took a cue from you and decided to start watching Archive 81. I've heard so many good things about it. Of course, it's the Netflix horror series, and I'm really enjoying it so far. I have not finished it, full disclosure, but it is really good. It's about a guy that is hired to go off into a secluded, I don't know what you would call this place, like a really...
Like almost like a compound or
looks
something.
like a compound. Yeah, it's very run down. Place to restore some film footage and kind of solve the mystery of a girl that's gone missing, and there's some cult aspects to it. Just kind of right up my alley. I love stuff about like forgotten films and evil films and cults. I mean, it's got all that kind of included. It's very creepy, has some really good moments, and I've heard, just from general impressions, I've heard that it gets better and better as the series goes on.
It does, and I'm in the same spot you are. We're like 2 episodes in, and then we got distracted with other stuff to watch.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to finishing that one up.
So I just really did my Amityville project, and I moved on to Amityville, the final chapter, which is also known as AKA a sickle, which is a much better title because this shows that this is one of those ones that just took the blatant thing of like, okay, this is not going to sell unless we hook somebody in somehow. So they slapped Amityville on it and make it the final chapter of all things. I don't even know where that element of it comes in because it's nor final, barely a chapter. It made like, and this is hard after seeing that last one I saw. That was hard to top, but this one doesn't. I don't even think it uses the word Amityville in it at all.
Wow.
This and I feel bad. I don't like to criticize, but this literally has some of the worst acting I've ever seen. I'm sorry. I know everyone tries hard. I know. Everyone is like, it's probably still better than I could do at all. But yeah, this one is like, this was excruciating to watch. It made sense. I think the fact that if they would have taken out Amityville off of it, at least that would have made more sense because the plot literally was about this entity called the Sickle that would kill people. And this guy gets framed for the murder and he comes back years later and there's this plot, this ghost hunting plot and this, it's just very bizarre, very, very awkward. And this one, literally made no attempt to associate it to Amityville at all.
Wow.
I mean, it's like, yeah, it just made no sense whatsoever. I mean, I assume they're supposed to, I guess you're supposed to just assume that this all happened in Amityville, but you wouldn't know it. They never mention it. They never say anything.
That's
really
crazy.
Yeah, I'm in and then the one I just started. I had to stop it. I didn't have time to finish it yet. Is the next one up my list is Amityville Theater or Amityville Playhouse, depending on which version you see, the Canadian or U.S. version. It really doesn't matter. They're both about a theater, and this one is like somehow it's like almost like I think it's like an hour and 40 minutes long. I'm like, I can't even imagine how much longer I can watch this movie, but I'm gonna power through it.
Oh yeah, you were brave to take on this project to begin with.
Yeah, but I mean, this one is so slow moving, and literally, I think they just. I swear to God, I think the girl repeated the same line of dialogue 3 times in one scene. It's just really, but I really don't know. I assume it's and this one's funny though. This one makes the attempt to link it. Like the first thing is a title card explaining, and I'll go into it more next week when I watch it, but when I finish it. But this one goes into the title card that. About Ronald DeFeo and the history, and then it says, so then But that's it. Then they're in Amityville, though. At least they in the town, supposedly of Amityville. And I actually say the town they picked looks decently close to actually what Amityville looks like. But like, it's so funny. They literally just slap on these like obviously handmade stickers that say like Amityville Surveyor or something on it.
Gosh.
And they put up these signs like so and so for Amityville Mayor, and you just see them and these signs are like on the random streets that they're driving by, which obviously they had probably like 4 signs that just kept alternating as the guy drove. But I will say at least they tried to link it somehow to Amityville. Now, of course, there's no theater in Amityville currently. So, but still, at least they try on this one. So I'll report back when if I can finish this one. I will definitely do it. I may never be the same afterwards.
You just have to like watch it in 5-minute increments.
Yeah, and what's so funny is that, I'm like inching closer and closer to Amityville Vibrator somewhere.
Can't wait till you get to
and it's
that
weird. I saw on my list there's Amityville Shark, which I watched, but I'll rewatch again because I watched it for the horror challenge. But there's also Amityville Shark House. So I don't know why, like literally they had to make 2 Amityville Shark movies.
I think they literally just come up with titles and then just make a movie around it.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, I'm still waiting for the Amityville Ouija combo. They need to do that. The Amityville Ouija house or something.
All right, well, let's get to our main feature here. This is Dawn of the Beast. This is available on Shudder right now. Released last year, 2021, directed by Bruce Wemple, starring Francesca Anderson as Marie, Adrian Burke as Chris Kemperman as Jake, Ariella Mastroianni as Isabella, Roger M. Meyer as Cashier, Willard Morgan as Dr. Dennis Kasdan.
I don't know why I just laughed at that.
Grant Schumacher as Everett, LeJohn Woods as Oz, and Anna Shields as Lily. A group of graduate students get more than they bargained for while searching for the legendary Bigfoot. Not only is he real, but there's something far more evil lurking in the shadows, the Wendigo. And this is Anna Shields' second movie she's written. Both of those are on Shudder, and the other one was another Sasquatch film, Monstrous.
Yeah, she's like big into the Squatch stuff, but she does differently. The Monstrous was like more of like a relationship kind of mystery, centered around the Squatch, and this one she does this one is definitely more of a it's like there's another element to the Squatch where he kind of takes on this like almost heroic role where it's like this one. What I liked about this one is this first of all. This kind of is like almost like a Godzilla vs. Kong kind of like in the world of cryptozoology, it's like, which I kind of like that they took 2 type of cryptids here, and put them in in the same movie. But I like the premise that it was around this, like, what do they call it? Death Month or Death Week or Dead Week, whatever. It was like this time period where they picked because it was cheap, but that's also the time when people always go missing. So there's a lot of mysterious creatures. They set it up in the beginning with this guy and his I guess and his girlfriend or wife, and she gets taken by something. And I think what's good is like it kind of keeps you on your toes because you're not sure who's doing what. Is it the Squatch? Is it the Wendigo? Is it the people themselves and the thing? And there's just this whole other element to the mythology of the Wendigo. I'm not as familiar with the Wendigo as I am of Bigfoot and stuff, but. Is that Tim? You know better about cryptozoology. Is that one of the common things that they the Wendigo actually can possess?
Yeah, well, I'm not super big on on the Wendigo knowledge base either. So that piece, the only thing I could think of is that movie Black Sabbath, where Boris Karloff played the guy that I remember. I think he was possessed by it.
Oh yeah, and it didn't Chase's radio drama Wendigo. Yeah. One of the guys was everyone was remember they weren't sure who was what, everyone thought they were each other. It was definitely that mental.
Yes, so I think there is that aspect of it. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I like is that Anna Shields is a pretty good actress too in there. So she does a good job in both movies actually, I think. And she was actually, it's funny, definitely my favorite character in this one. She's definitely one of the more likable ones. She's kind of like a cool badass kind of character where it's you think she's kind of out of the movie early on, but she does make a nice triumphant comeback for a little bit there. And it's funny because there's a lot this movie just has so many different it goes so many different ways, but it was I actually found myself really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's one of those that I'll be honest, I didn't have super high expectations for it because I don't really have super high expectations for any Bigfoot movie. because there's a lot of bad ones out there.
Yeah.
So I kind of just go in kind of with that kind of unfortunately tainted mindset going in. But there was a lot of creepy stuff in this one. Like I was thinking through the whole movie, I was like, man, we need to give Bruce Wimple a bigger budget.
Yeah.
Because this dude has an eye for some really creepy sequences. I loved the light up eyes.
Oh my God. Yeah. That was really, it was a subtle effect, but how cool was that?
It's such a simple effect, but I find it so super scary. I remember when I was younger, there's a place, it's an old plantation called Poplar Grove. An actual historic plantation house.
I know that. Why do I know that? Did we? Was that where we tried to go with the haunt, or that wasn't the same place?
It might have been. We might have taken you guys there. Because...
No, we were trying to, but we couldn't get. Remember, we couldn't get.
Oh, that's right. They were doing ghost tours that year. We couldn't get tickets. Yeah, but they used to, when I was a kid, they used to do a full haunted house there, and they ended up they did it in the plantation house, and then that became too logistically hard to do. Like having a haunted house in an actual house is very difficult because there's no flow, right?
Yeah.
So they ended up having to move it back to the barn, and then they constructed a full haunt in the barn. But I remember one of the rooms that stands out to me, even from a kid or a teenager maybe, was they had this pitch dark room, and the scare actors had those lights. That's all they had were these lights that lit up like eyes. And it was terrifying because you just imagine being in a pitch dark room and then they would turn them off and you didn't know where they were. I mean, it was pitch black. And then all of a sudden you just see these eyes light up and then they'd flash them off again. It was super creepy.
Oh, that's
cool. And that's all I could think of when I was watching this movie. I was like, man, that's such a simple effect, but it is so effective. It is really, really good. There were several things in this movie that struck me as like surprisingly creepy for what I'm assuming the budget was. Yeah. I thought they did a really, really good job, and it's a very entertaining movie, especially with the premise sounds kind of wacky, Wendigo and Bigfoot fighting, kind of sounds like a Freddy versus Jason of cryptids, but it's actually done really, really well. I thought they did a pretty good job of making you very sympathetic for all the characters. I enjoyed it quite a bit.
Yeah, no, me too. And actually, when you said that about the haunted house, it reminds me of like how much why I appreciate that mysterious mansion in Gatlinburg so well, because that's it's like essentially like a house, and you wouldn't know like that there's a linear path through that house the way they have it set up, and kind of reminded me of that. But yeah, but back to this movie. Yeah, that was the thing. It's like this movie, like based off you read the premise, you just look, you look at it for, you just look at it, you're like, oh, this is gonna be. But there's something about it. It's probably the character, probably the little bit of creepiness that he used, like whatever he had, he used to its fullest in it. And I think it made it like really that's what worked. Like there was a lot of tense things in there. There was I thought that really cool creepy sequence was with the where she had that like little I guess it was like an Alexa device, whatever that thing she had. Mm-hmm. Remember, and it like changed her face on there, and her face was like in it, and then like on the camera, but then it changed. So it was really like little stuff like that, like easily probably like an effect that like you and I could do at home on a FaceTime video, but he did it in like a way that made it really work. And so it's like, yeah, can you imagine Bruce Wimple and Anna Shields collaborating and then given like a huge budget? Like, I can't imagine. It would probably, not that these films were bad, but like they could probably make an amazing film with that.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and so I get, you got to give credit though to, because Anna Shields like writes this stuff and she writes it, so it's really, it's not just, there's so much going on, like, as the side plots along with the main plot, but she finds a way to do it where it doesn't really detract from the main thing. Like, the main focus is still going on with everything, but yet the little side things are I think, interspersed really good, that they kind of make it, just an overall enjoyable movie.
Yeah, and I'm going to have to go back a little bit, because I probably should have mentioned this during the first chop, but the whole talk of Bigfoot made me think of it. I was watching a show on Discovery. Well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish it. It's called Alaskan Killer Bigfoot.
Oh my God.
Right. So what they do is this group, this is one of those quote unquote documentaries, right? Reality, quote unquote reality TV. So they get these crew together that are going to go back to this abandoned Alaskan town. This town was supposedly abandoned because it got back in the 30s or whatever, because Bigfoot came in and killed everybody.
It got squatched.
Yeah, I'm not making this up. So they decide they're going to go back. The elders will not go back to this village at all. They refuse to. And these are the first people that have ever gone back here. And so they get there, and there's, it's the typical stuff you see. They're, hey, did you hear that? They're looking out in the woods, and there's scary music, and then strange things happen, like all their trail cams start getting distorted, because apparently this Bigfoot is also magical and can affect electronics, and it is so mind-numbingly dumb. And what really kind of broke.
And this is a documentary?
Yeah, it's presented like one of those Squatch shows, like Finding Bigfoot or whatever, but. The thing that caused me to literally go, I can't keep doing this. So they find this buoy out in the water, right? And of course they make a big deal of this. Oh, there's a buoy with a rope attached. Well, there could be a dead body attached to that, bro. They reel it in. A whole thing about this stupid buoy that literally just a piece of garbage that was floating on the shore. So they find this thing. I swear to you, at the end of the episode, they're walking, and the buoy is up in a tree, 30 feet up in a tree.
What?
And they're and I was just like, come on, God. There's no freaking way that really happened. That's the producers climbing up there and putting the buoy up in the tree. I mean, come on. I enjoy those shows. I've always been a skeptic, so I always watch them with a little bit of that skeptical eye. But this was going too far. This is don't even try to make me believe that this crap is real. But it's if you watch it for a comedic value, it's pretty funny. It's so ridiculous. They get sick, they're getting sick because they're so close to the Bigfoot's native lands, and you can't go into this part of the forest. And the guy goes in that part of the forest, and he comes out and he's throwing up and I'm so sick to my stuff. I mean, come on, guys. So anyway, all that to say, I watch a lot of Bigfoot Squatch documentaries and stuff, but that's easily the worst I've ever seen. But unlike this movie, Alaskan Killer Bigfoot is not much for entertainment. This movie, on the other hand, I thought was great. I thought the mashup of Bigfoot and Wendigo is that's an interesting concept I've never seen before, and that was kind of a cool idea. Yeah,
they somehow made it. But it's still enjoyable without it being, too cheesy. I mean, I'm sure some people will find it that way, but you know what? Go into it for what it is and enjoy it, because I really enjoyed this one. I was glad I found it. It was funny when I told it to Tim, I'm like, oh, here's a new Squatch movie on here. And then Tim's like, wait a minute, you didn't tell me it's Squatch and Wendigo. And I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot. Yeah. So it's I mean, that's something right up our alley. So you know what? I'm glad it didn't disappoint.
I think you have to go into this. Don't go into it like you would a Willow Creek or a movie like that where it's supposed to be a serious Squatch movie. Go into it as a monster movie.
Yeah.
If you go into it with the monster movie mindset, I think you'll like this one. I kind of went into it that way based on the synopsis alone. I was like, okay, Wendigo, Bigfoot, this is probably a monster movie. And I'm glad I kind of took that mindset, because if you kind of approach it from that angle where monster movies are supposed to be just fun, you don't have to believe what they're saying. I mean, you don't have to believe in you don't have to believe in Godzilla to enjoy a Godzilla movie, right? So if you kind of go in it with that mindset, I think you'll really like this one. I was impressed with, again, like we've pointed out, I was impressed with the creepiness they were able to get with very simple effects and a low budget. I have an eye. I try to keep an eye out for that kind of thing, and it's rare that I see it. Unfortunately, a lot of low budget films you just don't see it. But when I do see it, it really makes my ears perk up. And in this one, I was like, man, this director has something. He has an eye for the creepy.
Yeah. That
a lot of low budget directors don't. Yep. Sorry, but they don't.
And what's pretty good is he repeats the effect, and it looks just as creepy every time.
Yeah, that's what's so good. It's great. I thought it was great. I can't wait to see what he does next, because I think, give this guy. He's got a
lot of stuff. They collaborate a lot. This group seems to collaborate. The actors, the writer, a lot of because Bruce Wemple directed the other one too, Monstrous also.
Yeah, give these guys more money, man. This is good stuff.
Stuff. So definitely check these. Both of them out are on Shudder currently, so you can watch a nice little double feature there of some good Squatch.
Yeah, I always love a good Squatch movie.
Me too. I just love saying Squatch. I could say it all day now. I love that. That's like the common word for it now. You know?
Yeah, just Squatch.
Everyone just says Squatch. I love it.
Yeah, I've been watching. I've also been watching Paranormal Caught on Camera. And,
I've seen that. Yeah, but Julie and I watched a bunch of those.
Those are great. Yeah,
we used to record them on the DVR.
Those are fun. The way I like watching those is I try to pick apart like what it really is. Like I watch it and I try to debunk it in real time. And I've looked at some of the ones that I really couldn't debunk right off the top of my head, and I'd look them up on Google later, and then you would find out like it was a hoax the whole time. Like there was one they did where it was like a poltergeist attacked the school.
Oh, I was just gonna say, was it the school one?
Yeah, the
one
school
Julie
one.
and I were laughing at.
Yeah, and then I was like, man, that's pretty impressive. Like that's pretty impressive footage, but that can't be real. And then
that became like a pretty famous one, I think.
Yeah,
from that.
There was one on there. The funniest one I ever debunked, though. There was one. Somebody had like a ring camera, not a ring camera, but like a night camera on their driveway.
Oh, but this was creepy. That thing that's in the driveway, right?
Yeah, the thing in the driveway. But if you look at it, because I slowed the video down and I looked at it really close, it's a dog. It's 110%. I'd bet money on it. It's a dog but what was neat about it is the dog had markings where the dog was mostly black, but he had like a really light splotch. And when he's against the shadow, you can't see the black. So you can't see the outline of the dog. All you can see is the splotch, which makes it look like some kind of alien thing.
Yeah. Well, that they did say, like, you know, people are like, is it a dog? Is it a... Yeah, I remember that one. That's so funny that those are the two you picked out, were the two of the more memorable
The funniest, but I love the people in the middle are like the woman today, like, so there was the one I watched today, there was a camera taking pictures of a lightning storm, and there was like this black squiggly thing that appears in the sky. And so I'm going, that really to me looks like a bug on the lens of the camera.
Yeah.
And I'm betting money that's a bug on the lens of the camera. So then she comes out and she goes, this creature is obviously harnessing energy from the lightning. I'm like, what are you talking about? They say it so matter of fact. This creature is obviously harnessing.
Yeah,
like it's freaking
those
bug.
Shows they're succeeding. What they're doing really is to entertain.
Yeah, and they're entertaining. That's why I watch them. Yeah.
And
so,
that's as long as you can appreciate that. Yeah. There's nothing wrong with those shows. Bring them on.
Yeah,
but don't go in there and start treating them as like a factual documentary.
Yeah, it cracks me up. But anyway, so what is our beer pairing for this film, Brian?
So I got a good one here. It's called The Beast from Avery Brewing Company in Boulder, Colorado, and this one is 16.8%.
That is a beast right there.
It is, and it's from the Demons of Ale series. They have like a couple of them under that moniker, under Avery's label, and it's a Grand Cru, and it says, the Beast is a seducer, accommodating, complicated, powerful, dark, unfiltered, and created to last the ages. Beyond this, it's futile to describe him. He will unveil himself differently to each of his followers. The mark is in his constitution. So is that a perfect pairing for this movie?
I'll tell you what, if I drank that, the Dawn of the Beast would not be great.
Yeah,
It'd be Hangover City.
Yeah, that is a strong one. I've had Sam Adams Utopias at one of the beer festivals was like 27%.
Oh wow!
I don't think got a little sip. They only give you like a little shot glass of it. So you really don't get the flavor and the taste, but that's about it. You don't really get the true effect of it because you don't have enough of it. But I'll tell you, that is a strong beer. It's like the best whiskey ever had. I'll tell you.
I don't think I've had one over 14. I think 14 is the highest I've ever had.
Oh,
now,
okay.
I don't typically really like strong ABV beers like that strong. I just don't like the taste of it. Like it tends to make it there's like too much of a sweetness to it for something. I don't know. Those don't.
I'm sorry. I meant the best port. That's what I meant. Actually, not the best whiskey. The Utopia is like a really good strong port wine.
Oh yeah,
I had that. So
yeah, so it's one of those things that I like them. I like it, kind of IPA range, about 8%. That's good. Yeah, it's anywhere between 6 and 8. Like 8 being the top end. I'm good with that. Yeah.
So Tim doesn't like when these go to 11.
No. All right. So our triple threat last week, we were looking for an actor or actress, and the answer was Courtney Cox from the recent Scream movie. Clue number 1: my dancing in a music video inspired a sitcom character's signature dance. Alfonso Ribeiro credits Courtney Cox for his infamous dance, the Carlton. While working on The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air in 1990, he did an exaggerated version of Cox's Dancing in the Dark dance whenever his Carlton Banks character was excited or celebrating. Somewhere I picked up that trivia along the way, so I knew that one.
There's nothing quite like it, because I think it was Alfonso Ribeiro's face that he made, that like
it was so great.
Grin as he did.
Clue number 2, in perhaps my most known roles, I was the only member of the main cast to not get either an Emmy or Golden Globe nomination. However, I did receive one for another role years later. She is the only regular Friends cast member to not receive either an Emmy or a Golden Globe nomination for their work on the show. However, she later received her first nomination, Golden Globe, for Cougar Town 2009.
Which, that was a good show. I like that show.
And clue number 3, I, along with 2 others, have been in every film of a very popular horror franchise. Of course, she is one of 3 actors, along with David Arquette and Neve Campbell, to appear in all 5 Scream films.
Oh, yeah, it was to date. It was,
to date. Okay, this week we're looking for a director. And this should be a pretty easy one for you guys.
Yeah.
All right, clue number 1, I'm probably best known for 2 very different films about Christmas. Clue number 2, I am only one of 2 directors to be on Roger Ebert's Great Movies list and Most Hated list.
That takes talent.
That does.
Not to get on the hated list. He hates a lot, but to get on his best list.
I actually agree with Roger Ebert on this one, though.
Oh, yeah. No, I think he's 100% correct on this one, yeah.
And clue number 3, I've only directed 1 Academy Award performance. Who am I? That's a good one. All right, now this is a great fan topic food question coming at us from David McHugh, Horror Mailman on Twitter. What are some of your favorite folk horror movies? I will have to say, I'm going to answer this one because I got tons of them right off the top of my head. Probably the first one I remember seeing is The Wicker Man, the original, not the obviously not the Nicolas Cage version. Yeah. The Wicker Man is probably my first. More recently, definitely Midsummer and The Witch, hands down. I would throw those in the mix. There's been several over the years I've seen that I just can't remember the names of off the top of my head.
Same with me. I was having trouble other than like The Witch. I remember, like, there's so many I've seen that I just can never catch. I never remember the name. Because
there was a lot in the 70s, and I watch a lot of 70s horror, but it kind of all blends together. I know when I was watching that recent documentary that was put out about folk horror, they would show clips of them. I'll go, oh yeah, I saw that one. I remember that one. And I can't sit here off the top of my head without going and looking them up, what they are. But there's a lot of great 70s folk horror. There was one I watched really recently, I think for the horror movie challenge, it was very Wicker Man-esque, but it was about this young girl in this village that kind of gets possessed by the devil, and she starts kind of bringing all the other kids in the village under her spell. And that one was really super creepy. I really like that one. I can't remember the name of it, but it's also featured in that documentary. So, but yeah, for recent, definitely The Witch, definitely Midsummer, and probably Wicker Man, the original Wicker Man, being top of my list.
Yeah, I say it's same with me on a lot of those. And also the one, remember that one, the Ritual we saw?
Oh,
the 4 guys and they go through the Scandinavian.
That was good. I like that one. Yeah, that was a really
like
good
that
one.
was like that's definitely more modern one. I think it was from 2000. Let me look that up. 2017. So that one was like somewhat recent, and it was it's nice to see that they're still doing good. Somewhat recent.
I think they're really. I think it's definitely had a resurgence with this documentary coming out and everything. that huge box set that came out. I think it's becoming really popular. I think obviously because of The Witch and Midsummer, I think have helped drive that kind of that desire to see those again.
What do you classify as like the Blair Witch though? Do you count that as folk horror a little bit? Also, as even though it's found footage.
Yeah, I think. I think Blair Witch has been. And rightly so, has been more classified as found footage because it kind of kicked off the whole found footage genre. But I think you could make an argument that that's folk horror. I mean, you're talking about folklore that inspires a horror movie. I was looking through a couple of other ones here.
I think witch alone usually brings you into that genre. It doesn't always keep you there because obviously there's more modern day witches things that really aren't folky. But if the witch is a premise, you're on the right track.
Yeah.
What was it? Oh, that other one we liked, was Audrey Earnshaw one was pretty good.
Yeah, that's good folk horror, yeah.
What about Hagagusa? Do you think that's a folk horror?
Yes, definitely.
Right? I think that one was pretty good too. So, it seems like the last handful, the last 5-6 years or so we found some good ones. So,
here's some other good ones I've seen. Witchfinder General with Vincent Price. That's a classic. You really need to see that one, Witchfinder General. The Devil Rides Out with Christopher Lee is good. Kind of like Apostle is a recent one. Did you see Apostle on Netflix?
No, I haven't seen
Oh,
that.
you need to see that one. That's very Wicker Man-esque. I can't remember what year that one is. It's been in the last several years. It's not very old. The one I was trying to remember is The Blood on Satan's Claw.
Oh, yeah.
That's the one with the girl that takes over the village. That one's really, really good. Hagazusa was definitely a good one. That was a good pick. What about that one?
That one, the Lodgers we saw. Would that count?
Yeah, I don't know.
It's like borderline. Because remember there was that whole thing where they went to the lake and
Well, one I was thinking about when you said that was, what about that one where the guy was I don't know if it's considered folk because it's more like historical, but that one where the guy was like a monster hunter and it was like the headhunter, I think.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was a great. Remember that? We loved that one. And that was like remember we scrambled to find something to watch that week and we picked that and we ended up loving it so much.
Yeah.
On Shudder. Yeah. That director liked it. Remember he liked that we did that movie.
Yeah, that was a good one.
Do you think Hereditary's on there, or is that just lumped in because of Ari Aster doing Midsummer?
Well, I don't know, but it's got. I think that one's a tough call because it doesn't kind of take place in a rural setting, but the subject matter is very folk horror.
Right. So it's like, I think, you know what it is? I think I think this could be a little bit stretched out to what your definition of folk horror is, because I think everyone has this image of a woods, of an old witch, but that doesn't necessarily mean what it is. I think that's the more common version of the tropes of it. But I think, yeah, like I think if there's like, I mean, if you have some kind of history, some kind of lore in general, I mean,
I always think of
hard.
folk horror as involving, it has to involve like paganism or like really ancient, you're talking about ancient beings, ancient entities, or from another kind of perspective, if you're going into more the witch side. I think both of those, to me, are cult, ancient pagan stuff. That always to me is what in my mind, classifies as folk horror. And that's why I think Hereditary kind of straddles the line there.
Yeah, it's like, I think it's like right there. I think it's one of these things. I think that there's some there that are going to be considered a gray area of it. But, I think it's also, there's a little bit of your own interpretation that could sway what you think is folk horror, I guess. But, and then you base it on like, okay, you see like someone expert on it and it's like, well, here's, I count out the top 12 like folk horrors, and you see one in there, you're like, oh, is that folk horror really? Like, why is that, and then you sit there and you think, and there's got to be a common thread to all of these that they're looking at. So,
well,
I assume.
The thing is, I was on a message board last week, and the topic was what makes a horror movie, and that was an incredibly interesting discussion.
I can't even imagine that discussion.
You start thinking about it, and it's like, my take on it was, it's a horror movie if the intention of the film is to scare the viewer. If the intention of the film is to scare the viewer, then to me that is a horror movie. But people made really good arguments for other movies that maybe don't fit that. Like somebody mentioned, was The Terminator a horror movie? And I said no, because the intention of The Terminator is not to scare you. But then you go back and you read James Cameron's words, and he said he was kind of making a horror movie. So it's one of those things that I think is impossible to classify because it's open to interpretation.
Yeah. Well, and what muddles it is like, here's the thing I always do. It's like when people are wondering if it's a horror movie, I'm like, okay, so let's take the Terminator, right? You said?
Yeah.
Let's replace Arnold Schwarzenegger's T-1000, or what was he? What was
I can't remember his model.
Yeah, his model number, whatever he was, and put Jason Voorhees in there.
Yeah.
Now is it a horror movie? Because now you got a killer going after someone with two people trying to escape, but he can't be killed. It seems like he keeps coming after him. He's getting shot a million times. He's still coming after you. He's still coming after you.
Yeah, it's hard to say. I mean,
yes, you sway towards sci-fi action for Terminator because it's this vision of a future, and there's time travel involved, and there's all this. But it's like, yeah, I think a lot of genres are very blurred these days, because it's like I think different things scare different people. So how, so while I agree with your assessment, like if the intent was to scare, then that probably opens up a lot more movies than you would expect.
Exactly. Yeah. I don't know. So
that's a discussion I think that will be had till the end of time.
Yeah.
Personally, because I think I'm too personal for people.
Yeah, and I feel like this is kind of a smaller version of that. Like, what is
Yeah.
folk horror? Well, I mean, there's some common elements that I guess we could probably all agree on. If it has this, that's more or less folk horror. But I'm sure there's a ton of movies out there that straddle that line and blur the lines that you could make an argument for and against.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So, good question once again. And by the way, David, I know you said you had a lot more of these. You might want, if you want to send them, because we're running really low. I think we got like 2 left.
Yeah, we need more questions. So for sure.
Yeah.
All right, guys. So we will see you back here next week. Again, apologies for the short episode, but we were trying to pack in a lot in a very limited time window. So we'll be back on track next week.
Yeah, we got a couple of good things coming up next couple episodes. I think you'll enjoy. So,
all right, we'll see you back here soon.
See ya.